Allahu Akbar.
Before I start the topic, I wanted to quickly give an introduction as to why did we choose this topic for this convention. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Holy Quran that He has created man in the best form. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also says that He made us much superior to many of those whom He has created. So look at the two superlatives, the best form and much superior. And from Allah's words, it's pretty obvious to us that man is supposed to be created and supposed to be a leader. Because Allah says that man is created in best form and man is much superior to many of the creations that He has created. So leadership becomes an obligation. We can't hold someone else to be a leader. We have to, each and every one of us, have to start holding ourselves to be the leader in whatever we do. There are very important qualities that can be understood, that can be learned, and that can be practiced. And many times we don't pay attention to them. So my objective today, inshallah, is to introduce the fundamentals of leadership. We are not going to go through everything, but we will do a little bit of many things so that you take the message and it helps you, inshallah, to probe more into some of these topics and benefit and be able to practice. I have a few PowerPoint slides. I'm going to go one by one. What is leadership? Many times we don't understand what leadership is. Leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. You don't have influence, you won't have followers. You don't have followers, you're not a leader. Leader's main concept is influence. If you don't have influence, you will not be able to lead others. You will not have followers to follow what you have to say. So the proof of the influence, the proof of the leadership is in the followers. So if you say that somebody is a leader, they say that, a lonely ranger. There's no lonely ranger leader. There is, because the moment you say someone is all alone by himself or by herself, not a leader. A leader is always identified by the followers that he or she has. And if you can't influence people, then they will not follow you. When you talk about influence, who comes to our mind? Right? We are all going into various sessions. I just came out of the session by Sheikh Mukhtar Moghravi. And, whenever we talk about leadership, the one who has the most influence on us, right, is our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. One of the best role models. And if you go through, while we are going through this presentation, you will also see how much it relates to what Islam says. Islam almost has made us, as an obligation on us, to practice leadership, to basically acquire the qualities of leaders and are able to help others as well in the process. Now, who is a leader? Whenever we talk about leaders, we think that it is not us, it's someone above us. It is not really true. Leader, it is not the position that defines a leader. It is the leader who defines a position. If you take the history, the Islamic history, it is very obvious to us that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was persecuted, almost was forced to leave his town of Mecca, and then in a very few short years, right, what is 10 or 11 years in anybody's life? By the time you realize your 10 years have gone by. He was able to come back with over 10,000 followers and take back the city that he was asked to leave. Look at the leadership qualities. Now, so it is not the position that makes the leader. It is the leader that makes the position. How do I test, whether someone is a leader or a manager? We talk about managers. Sometimes we look at managers and think that, well, manager is a leader. Not necessarily true. Your manager can be a leader too. A manager can have leadership qualities, but a manager is always there to maintain direction. I need this to be in place. He puts it in place. He maintains direction. One who is a leader is the one who creates momentum, a positive momentum. Momentum is normally created by leaders. It is not created by managers. A manager who has the ability to create momentum is also a leader. Not by the sheer fact that someone is a manager does not designate him or her as a leader. At the same time, someone who is an entrepreneur, he is a business owner, does not designate that individual to be a leader as well. He may have leadership qualities, some of the qualities of leadership, but is not a leader by himself or herself, right? So, not business owners are natural leaders, and the difference between managers and leaders, managers maintain direction, leaders actually create momentum. This is my daughter's handiwork, the transition of the PowerPoint slides. So, and here is this wonderful example of a difference between a manager and a leader. When you talk to a manager, you get the feeling that the manager is important. You need to obey him. You need to do what he asks you to do. When you talk to a leader, you will come out of the meeting feeling that you are important. A leader will always make his people, his followers, feel important. And a big difference. And if you look at the Islamic history, almost every Sahabi felt that he or she is closest to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There is also a question about who is closest to you, because the Sahabi felt he would name him as the closest, right? So obviously, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, one of the greatest leaders, not one of the greatest leaders ever born on the face of the earth. And I will also read something a little later in one of the slides as to what people have told about Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so that we get a better understanding of what kind of a leader he was. So, leaders make you feel important. Managers make themselves feel important. That's the difference between managers and leaders. And who is a leader? It is not the leader is one who does not make mistakes. Leader is one who makes mistakes, but develops and improves his or her skills all the time. So, the difference between a leader and a non-leader is, a leader is one who has the capacity to keep continuously developing. So, keep that in mind, that a leader is never stagnant. The leader is always developing and improving his or her skills that distinguishes the leader from their followers. And if you look at the Islamic principle of acquiring knowledge, once again, Islam clearly says, whoever goes out seeking knowledge, then he is in Allah's cause until he returns. Why was it, that important, right? It is as if you are in the Allah's cause while you are going and seeking knowledge. You may be, studying in a university, you may be in different countries, different places, acquiring, worldly knowledge, Islamic knowledge, and other things, and until you return, you are on Allah's cause. So, seeking knowledge is our duty, and improvement is impossible without change. Sheikh Mukhtar Moghravi also mentioned about it, the intent to change. So, improvement is impossible without change. So, leaders constantly look for developing and improving their skills. And another wonderful qualities of a leader is comprehend. A leader is one who sees more than others see, who sees farther than others see, and who sees before others see. So, leader, does not act in a manner that is hasty. Leader spends time, comprehends before he or she acts, and one who sees more than others see, one who sees farther than others see, and one who sees before others do. A very simple example is that the larger the organization that you are leading, it is more difficult to make a mid-course correction. So, it is very important for you to, plan, see farther before you start acting. An example of that is, if you take Titanic, the ship, one of the largest, or probably the largest ship at that time, and because they were not able to see the iceberg on the ocean, and by the time they came to see it, they were not able to make the correction. They were not able to steer the ship away from it. Finally, it led to over 1,000 people dead. So, it is important that a leader has the ability to see farther than others, earlier than others, and more than others. And leadership is not about, I learned a couple things, I experienced a couple things, and today I'm a leader. No, it is a lifelong striving, a lifelong learning and developing skills. So becoming a leader is not like investing successfully in the stock market. If you're looking at making a big return on the stock market in a very short time, there's a possibility that you may not succeed. Same is the case with leadership too. If you're looking at having read one or two lines and then feel that you have now become a leader, your leadership skills will have to be questioned. If there's a moderator who is coming into this place, please let me know, and you can as well come to the stage. And then when people respect you as a person, they admire you. When they respect you as a friend, they love you. When they respect you as a leader, they follow you. This is the law of leadership, right? So, respect you as a person, they admire you for what you do. Respect you as a friend, they love you. Respect you as a leader, they follow you. So, it is very important that we need to know the leadership skills in order to have the followers follow you. And one of the prerequisites of the leadership is also that it is improper for one person to take credit when it takes so many people to build a successful organization. The person who mentioned this is Jim, and we all know who Jim is. He is the co-founder, co-CEO of Costco, right? So this is one very important element of leadership, is that the one who is able to give credit to others and has the inherent ability to take some blame when things go wrong, elevates him to the position of a leader. So if you think that a leader does not make mistakes, the leader is not held accountable, it is wrong. The leader is held more accountable. And when something is right, credit is passed to others, and something is wrong, blame is taken by the leader. That differentiates the leader from a follower. The bottom line in leadership is not about how much we advance ourselves. It is how far we advance others. Very important aspect of leadership. If you do not make that distinction that there's a difference between leadership and success. Many of us try to confuse these two things. For success, what do we say? We want to go as far as we can, as high as I can climb. That is all about success. I want to be the most successful person, and I want to go as far and as high. That is not the leadership requirement is. The bottom line in leadership is how far we advance others who are following us. A critical question that a leader should ask is, are we making things better for people who follow us? If the answer is not an unhesitating yes, yes, I am making things better for my followers, there is a problem in my leadership. So that's a question that a leader should keep asking. Am I making things better for the people around me? If the answer is an unhesitating, it has to be an unhesitating yes, then you are qualified to feel that you are in the right path of leadership. When a person moves into a position of authority, he or she gives up the right to abuse people, right? So leadership is not about acquiring power. Leadership is not about how you are up and the followers are down. No. Leadership is always about people. So when you start abusing, you will not have followers. People who respect you will leave you. People who follow you will leave you. It will lead you to be someone who does not have the right leadership skills. So if a person moves into a position of authority, he or she should give up the right to abuse people. Mature leaders listen, learn, and then lead. Mature leaders do not start leading first. Mature leaders spend time on listening, on learning, and then leading. Inexperienced leaders quickly try to lead before knowing anything about their followers, anything about the people who are in their team. Mature leaders spend time with their people, understand their people, understand where their people want to go, what their aspirations are, what their emotions are, and what their motivations are, and spend the time that it takes to listen to these things, learn about the people who are following you, and then start leading them. There is this 3C. To build trust, there are 3 things that are prerequisite for a leader. A leader without these 3 things cannot be a successful leader on a long term. Someone may spike up and then he or she will fall down, lacking leadership skills. And those 3 things are extremely important. Competency, experience, expertise, subject matter expertise, capability. Connection, which is, the connection with the people in your team, the connection with the people who are following you, and character. If there is a deficiency in any of these 3, connection, competency, or character, he or she will not be able to lead for a long time. You may spike up, go up, and then you may come down. And if you look at Islamic point of view as well, the best of you are those who are best in conduct. Very clearly we have been told that the best of us are best in conduct. And an authentic hadith in which Muhammad said, "Shall I tell you about who among you I love the most, and the one who will be seated closest to me during the day of rising?" The one among you with the best character. So, the stress about character, the stress about connection, the importance given to competency, knowledge, yes, all aligns with the Islamic principles. So Islam absolutely teaches you leadership skills, absolutely almost obligates you to learn, follow, and practice leadership skills. Let's go into character. We all know this very well. But here's something that even a non-Muslim recognizes, which is the only thing that walks back from the tomb, refuses to be buried with the person, and comes back, returns with the mourners, is your character. People talk about your character. Character never goes away. Your reputation stays, whether you are alive or you are dead. Your reputation stays. So, character is an integral part of leadership. And why character is important? If you don't have character, people will not trust you. Character makes trust possible. Trust makes leadership possible. So there is a very important connection between you being a leader, you are having the ability to influence people, and the people willingly is ready to follow you. It's all dependent on the trust. And trust cannot be yearned from people if you do not have the right character. If you think people are negative, sometimes we feel that others around us are negative, and we feel that something is wrong with them. But if you, from a leadership perspective, if you see people are negative, better check your attitude, because it is not that the problem may be with the people. There is a very good possibility that the problem is with you. So keep that in mind, that when you see people having an attitude, the problem is not with them, the problem is with you. And attitude is one of the most contagious things, qualities in human beings, possession. People with good attitude make people around them feel positive. People with bad attitude make people around them feel miserable. So attitude is an extremely contagious qualities a human being possesses. You can't move people into action without moving them with emotion. People connect with you only when they emotionally connect with you. People won't follow you if they don't feel the connection between you as a leader and them as followers. So you can't move people into action without moving them emotions. So that's the reason why you need to spend time listening, learning, and leading. And if you do not have the connection, you will not be able to have the people emotionally attached to you. The heart comes before the head. We all know that, right? The stronger the relationship and connection between individuals, the more likely the followers will want to help the leaders. So there are many things that will catch your eye, many things that catches your eye. There are only a few things that will catch your heart. There are only a few things that actually has an impact on you. You'll see many things that may look attractive to you and you'll forget them. There are only a few things that impacts you. Likewise, the stronger the relationship. So if you are able to make the connection with the individual, the heart comes before the head. Emotionally, the followers will be willing to help you more. If you want someone on your side, don't try to convince him, connect with him. And I'll tell you what I mean here. Especially when you're in an organization, you are dealing with someone with higher influence, and you are not as known to him or her, you are new. And if you try to convince somebody on something that you are planning to do, it normally does not happen because you do not have a track record. You have not established the connection with the individual. The individual does not know you. He does not know your competency. So normally it leads to you unable to convince that individual. But if you go in the other side of saying that, connect with him in the sense that if you propose that I am new, you are here for a much longer time, and I know that you have a lot of influence, and I am here to work with you, and here are a few things that I promised you that I will do. I will consult with you, or I will not take an important decision without you first approving that, things like that. So make promises with that individual, and that enables a connection with that individual that finally helps you to win over that individual. So instead of trying to spend time on convincing the individual, try to spend time on connecting with that person. Very important thing that most of the time we miss. People don't care how much you know. You may be a very intelligent guy. You may be a subject matter expert, you may have a track record, you may be the superstar. It does not matter to people. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. People have to know how much you care. Without that, you may have any skills, and those skills will not be relevant to that individual who is on your team. So make sure that people know that you care for them. People don't follow worthy causes. Normally, they don't fall into saying that, let me follow the worthy causes which are out there. People follow worthy leaders. Whom are we following? We are following the most worthy leader who promote worthy causes. So, if you look at the Islamic history, almost every leader that we have had is worthy of this leadership skills. So, it is not that people, most of them were uneducated, most of them were illiterate, most of them were, came from very little knowledge and civilized life. But they bought in to their leader, and those leaders instilled in them the worthy causes that they were following. So keep in mind that people normally do not follow worthy causes. They follow worthy leaders who actually promote worthy causes. Followers may doubt what their leaders say, but they will certainly believe what their leaders do. Action speaks much louder than words. You can say anything you want, and people may believe or may not believe. But anything you do, people will always believe in it, because they know that your actions are more significant than your words. So keep in mind that many times we make a mistake that no one is watching, but that is not really the case. People are always watching your actions. So as a leader, make sure that you are always acting in a manner that is fitting of a leader. The most valuable gift a leader can give is being a good example. From whatever we have said so far, if you keep on relating that to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you can clearly see how much of a connection is there between leadership, his leadership, and which has led to 1.3, 1.4 billion followers. It did not happen by itself. It did not happen by chance, right? So the most valuable gift a leader can give is a good example, is being a good example. And one of the most important things that as a leader we need to keep in mind, that do not ever ask a follower of yours, someone who is in your team, to do something that you are not willing to do. If it is not fitting for you to do, it is not fitting for someone else in your team to do as well. So keep that in mind, that never ask a team member to do something that you are unwilling to do. You may not be the right person to do. That is different. You may not have the competency to do. That is different. But never give a job to somebody in your team that you are not willing to do yourself. More than anyone, leaders should welcome being held accountable. There are two things here, integrity and accountability. Once again, goes to the core character concept of prerequisite of leadership. Integrity is always do what is right. Always only do what is right. Accountability is always do what you are saying you are doing. Don't say something and do something else. So, if you can exhibit integrity and accountability, those two things goes to the character of the individual, which leads to trust, and that leads to following. So in leadership, a leader should always be willing to hold him or herself accountable in front of his people. If you look into an organization, every organization has a mission. So mission is a purpose. What are we doing? Mission is the purpose in an organization. Vision is the picture. Strategy is the plan, how you are going to achieve the mission. And the leader's job is to be the picture living the mission. So if people see the leader, they should be able to understand that the leader exhibits the mission of the organization. The way he or she functions in the organization should be a living example for others to follow. Once again, if you go back to Muhammad and his life, there was absolutely, he was the vision, he was the picture of the mission that he came into. So, Aisha radiallahu anha was asked, what was his character? And she said he was the living Quran. So, he was the vision, the picture of the speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that came as Quran to us. So, obviously, everything ties into Islam. There is no success without sacrifice. And leaders are often asked to give more than others. And sacrifice is an ongoing process, not a one-time thing. So, when you talk about leadership, let us not talk about leaders being entitled to something greater than their followers. No, leaderships most of the time is asked to give more than their followers, and that actually designates them to be a leader. So, let's be clear that there is no success without sacrifice. What do you do as a leader? As a leader, you hire the best staff that you can find. Develop them as much as you can. Hand off everything that you possibly can to them. So, the more you go up the chain of a leader, you lose the insecurity that you may have that if I teach someone what I know, he or she may take over as the leader. That normally does not happen. He or she will be more loyal to you as a follower because you have been their teacher in imparting some knowledge to them that they did not know. It creates a bigger trust between you and your followers. So hire the best people you can and develop them as much as you can and hand off everything that you possibly can. So just to summarize, leadership is about influence. That was the first slide that we covered. If you do not have influence, you are not a leader. Leadership is about people. So if someone is having an attitude, it is first check yourself because the problem may be you, is not maybe with your people. Leadership is about continuous improvement, never being stagnant. Do not ever stay in the same place and think that I have acquired all the leadership skills. It is the ability to constantly develop and improve distinguishes a leader from a follower. Leadership is about advancing others, not advancing themselves. Leadership is about character, competency, and connection. Leadership is about integrity and accountability. Someday, people will summarize your life in a simple sentence. My advice is, pick it, choose it now. Right? People are going to summarize you as good, bad, or ugly. And my advice is for you to choose it now. And if you look at, if you apply this practically, we have at least made a start in discovering the meaning in human life when we plant a seed for a shade tree under which we know very well we will never sit. Right? So, before people pick summarize you by a single sentence, you can shape that sentence by understanding the leadership skills, applying them, and practicing them. There are two things that I want to end with this on the leadership of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I want to end with a couple things. One was, there is a professor, Hindu professor by the name of Ramakrishna Rao. He, in his book, Mohammad, the Prophet of Islam, and he called him the perfect model for human life. See, Muslims calling Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam as the perfect model for human life. Yes, I think it's almost a prerequisite. There's no significance to it. We all know that, right? So when you have a Hindu professor calling him, and he did not stop there. What he said was this. He characterized Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam as Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the prophet, the warrior, the businessman, the statesman, the orator, the reformer, the refuge of orphans, the protector of slaves, the emancipator of women, the judge, the saint. All in all, these magnificent roles in all these departments of human activities, he is alike a hero. This was, so the leader, the position does not create leadership. It is a leader who creates the position. If you look at Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his characteristics, you know, there are 25, 30 of his characteristics where he is like a hero. And Reverend Bosworth Smith wrote in his book, Muhammad and Mohammedanism, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he characterizes him as head of the state as well as the church. He was the Caesar and Pope in one. But he was Pope without Pope's claims, and Caesar without legends of Caesar, without a standing army, without a bodyguard, without a palace, without a fixed revenue. If ever any man had the right to say that he ruled by a right divine, it was Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. For he had all the power without instruments and without its support. He cared not for dressing of power. The simplicity of his private life was in keeping with his public life. So, a wonderful example, the greatest leader whom we know, we follow, we cherish, we obey, and there is no one who is a better example for us. Let us read more about him. Let us learn more about his leadership skills. Let us learn more about leadership skill from others as well. Knowledge can come from anybody. It is our responsibility to learn. Know about the leadership skills, understand them, practice them, and become a leader. Do not think of not you, but someone else is the leader. First, hold yourself to higher standards. Jazakallahu khairan for listening. Assalamu alaikum.